Put it right there.
That's what she said.
Some people apparently say they want to see your face. Don't ask me why.
Because I'm beautiful.
Beautifully hideous.
I was thinking about
Why do you have this
some of
voice
the
on right
sexiest.
now? You got like an
men.
Italian, New York Italian thing going on.
I'm a New York Italian. You got a
This is
problem
not your
with that?
voice.
Fuck you.
Hey, welcome back to our Stupid Reaction. What's up, Corbin?
I'm Rick.
And you follow us on Instagram.
Instagram, Twitter.
Juicy.
It's juicy, you son of a
So
bitch.
juicy.
Whoa. No vulgarity on this show, please.
Ever.
This is a family establishment.
That's what I'm talking about.
Today's penis,
What? Vulva.
Wow, it's off the rails. Today, we're doing something unique. We're doing a re-review, everyone. Is that the...
Yeah,
is that the re-review?
It's like a review and
I don't know what that was.
We've never done this before.
But
so I've
yeah,
never done that before.
We're doing a re-review of KGF. KGF, Chapter 1, by the way. Obviously, because the new one is about to come out. We saw it 3 years ago. I think it was either the third or fifth film we saw. I think it was one of those.
Yeah. It was early.
Definitely the first South film we saw.
100% the first South film we saw. We saw it before Gully Boy.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
But I asked on... one, we were going to do a refresher anyway, obviously, before the new
Yeah,
film
we were
came
planning
out.
on watching it.
And I asked on Twitter, I said, would you like to see us do a re-review? And so obviously, if you'd like to see our original, like, fresh thoughts, we didn't know anything, I will post that in the description below so you can see our original review of the film. This will be kind of a rehashing and what we kind of thought, if anything, we thought differently, some stuff that we learned the second time around, also our expectations for the second one.
Right.
And so this will be kind of almost a podcast. I mean, I guess all of our reviews are kind of podcast-ish.
kind of
right?
podcasty. Yeah.
But anyways, so obviously it's 100% spoiler review. Yeah, if you
So
watch
you've
it,
all
go
seen
watch
it.
it.
If you
The
haven't,
second one's about to come out.
You
Come on.
should be
Yeah.
seeing it before you go see it anyway.
We saw it on Amazon. But Rick, your initial re-review thoughts, please.
Well, I don't count this one as a...
No, yeah,
it's not part of the count,
No,
so
no,
we don't have any of that. And my paragraph is, watch our review from 3 years ago.
Yeah, right?
Because I did that. I watched our review after I watched the film.
You felt the exact same?
I watched it like, yep.
Yeah.
Actually, the only difference this time would be I enjoyed the first half more the second time. Much more, yeah. So
I still think the second half is the much stronger part of the film.
it is, and it starts again from the storyteller.
Yeah.
It actually starts from El Dorado when it's, I guess, is the interval, right?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
middle point where we actually go into El Dorado.
Yeah.
The movie could start.
Yeah, it could. And I obviously I knew why they kind of didn't. Obviously, they wanted to build up the character and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, Indian films you kind of got to. It's kind of
And you'd
kinda,
miss. I mean, there's so much good stuff in
But-
that front part, like we talk about in the review.
I think that's kind of why I'm looking forward to the second one a lot. I think is if it starts from obviously continuation of where they currently are. There's just shit's gonna hit the fan. I mean,
Yeah.
it's already kind of hit the fan, right? But it's gonna hit the fan even more.
Yeah.
And if they continue the momentum of now that we know Rocky already, and you don't have to kind of build up to everything,
Right.
Because I don't think it's not a perfect film, but I think
No.
it's a very entertaining. I think it's a fantastic action and stunt work.
Yeah,
in
and
this thing.
sound.
Man, the thing that I was reminded of, and also apparently the choreographers for KGF are also the same ones for Beast.
Oh,
So the
nice.
stunt people
The fight
and
choreography is going to be
choreography is the exact same for Beast.
awesome.
But anyways, yeah, that's one of the things that stood out again this time is that the fight scenes are so gritty, so bloody, and so well
great
done
kills, man.
in this film. And the editing did not bother me as much this time around.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
I think what it was since it is fast editing, but I was probably, since we're so new and reading subtitles is something you have to get used to, and now it's just the subtitles are always on my TV. I literally just
Everything I watch is always subtitled.
The Office has subtitles.
Yeah, me
on.
too.
I'm
Everything we
like,
watch has subtitles.
I'm not going to turn them off. I'm going to have to
Kids-
turn them on.
Alexis, they're all the same way. Like when we turn something on, if it has the subtitles on, they're like, oh yeah, please leave it on. I always leave it on.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think I was like trying to look up, down, up, down, up, down. And so obviously maybe this time, since I didn't have to pay attention as much to subtitles, this time that it didn't bother me as much.
Probably so, because I've recognized that about our capacity to. It's actually easier with Hindi films because there's so many different things I can kind of grasp. I don't it's like
Words
heard
and
enough words
Yeah.
now that there's enough that I don't feel is locked into it. Plus, we've talked about this over and over again. Most like Hindi, Bengali, even the Assamese films that we saw, they don't talk at the clip that South Indians
Yeah.
talk. Yeah.
Especially Malayalam.
Yeah, so Malayalam's the quickest, but even this one,
Yeah.
Canada was
It
it
gets
was still
pretty quick.
in some spots.
And they're still like, I don't love everything about the storytelling, the way they decided to do the film. And I think I felt the exact same way the first time around.
Yeah.
But they make up for it. I don't like the whole trope of, tell us about the story and kind of, because the whole thing is a story that's being told.
Yeah, it's a
right?
story within a
and that's an
story.
old trope, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't take anything away. I don't like that style. I think it's kind of like flashbacks. It's kind of like cheap. And I'm like, just tell the story. Like, I don't need to know that this is not in the present.
The only way that usually works is if the telling of the story is really essential to the overall storytelling.
Yeah,
and this doesn't feel that way. I
like,
agree with you.
This could have just been
Narrated.
Mad Max story.
Yeah.
Mad Max didn't need to be narrated.
Yeah, that's true. It
was
didn't even need a narration.
It was like, this is the world.
Yeah.
You're in it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
But again,
I get it.
and it doesn't bother me. Like it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, it's fine. But luckily, the thing that this film does so well is that it knows what it is.
Yeah.
It knows it's an action film, and the action is carrying this story along.
That's what's so great about it is that
The pacing is
honestly,
good.
I think this is what set the standard for us, and is one of the reasons why we were disappointed with
Like Pushpa.
Pushpa, the way it was advertised. It was advertised like a big banger action film.
Yeah.
And
It wasn't.
KGF's a big banger action film,
Yeah.
and it wasn't.
Yeah, you don't like. We say this all the time. People think like we think everything needs to have thespian kind of
No, we
stuff in
don't.
it. This doesn't have thespian stuff in it. I still enjoy
that
the
it
heck.
are.
Yeah, I still enjoy the heck out of this.
Yeah.
Film. But as long as you know what you are, and like and what you advertised is what you
Right.
what shows up on screen. The action carries this thing. There's very little amount of time where it's just kind of dialogue between two people.
Ever.
Very little time. And
Yeah.
if there is, it's probably in between
leading-
an action scene.
Or it's leading to the action.
And so, like, I'm totally, because obviously some of the acting is kind of weird and dialogue is kind of like.
And the dubbing doesn't help.
Yeah, God. And I don't know what was wrong with our version on Amazon. I don't know if you had this. Like, it was kind of almost distorted a little bit.
It was big. Yeah, it was just not mixed right.
Yeah.
It was a little too hot.
So I'm looking forward to the actual theater
Yeah.
experience we're going to get. And so hopefully it's better because the dubbing was bad.
But I've grown. I know it's been such a norm that I'm better able now to set that aside in terms
Yeah.
of it bothering me.
Yeah.
And enjoy a film even though it's dubbed.
But yeah, the thing that carries this as long as the action, and it's obviously in a normal film you're like, okay, you're kind of just jumping along plot points here, but in this film it works because like, all right, hey, and now he's going to be here. Next scene, they're there, and then the action is starting.
Right.
And for this kind of film, it works, and it keeps you engaged, which is good in a film that's what you're supposed to get.
Yeah.
Obviously, and if Dabong was all like the first scene in Dabong, we would have enjoyed it a heck of a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, this film really is like nonstop. I hope this analogy functions. It's like nonstop slingshotting.
Yeah.
Because the action sequence would be the letting go of a slingshot. But then all the moments in between, there's this tension of buildup about another action sequence is coming. So you don't ever feel a slowdown like we have in some of the films we've just referenced, as
Yeah.
well as the fact that, again, we said this in the original review, it's the most epic beard on screen, right up there with Leonidas as far as like that. And I absolutely
Yash is a good looking man.
believe the magnetism and the aura and the sexuality of Yash.
Yeah, 100%.
100% love him in this role, believe him to be a sex symbol and this guy that can kick everybody's ass.
I didn't love the romance element in this, like that they tried, because I thought it was kind of almost pointless. I was like,
Thankfully, they didn't go too
no,
far
they
into
didn't.
it, thankfully.
Thankfully, but I'm hoping that they continue. Like, it's not, because obviously she's still there, and it showed at the end she's still going to be there in the second one.
Yep.
And so I'm just hoping that they don't. That's not what we're going to be focusing on.
No, my hope, I think
I'm
from the
so looking
trailer,
forward to Sanjay Dutt.
the trailer, I think, is going to lead us into the road where we're going to be dark, Mad Max-esque.
Yeah.
and I think they're still going to tie into some stuff that really pulls at his heartstrings for his mother.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
gonna that's
Especially
got
with
to
the
come
song
into
that they
play.
released. But the another thing in this that was so good is the cinematography.
Yeah,
It's one of the on the top of the action. It's a beautiful film to look
Yeah,
at.
it is. It's really pretty.
I know you keep harping on it, and everybody does that they see it because it's very similar to a Mad Max gritty, deserty war vibe.
Yeah.
Almost right.
yeah.
But it's wonderful to look at, I think
Especially the second half, because the production design and all the color correction, everything they did, they maintained that template. Like we saw, it's weird because they carried the darkness, right?
Yeah.
That they needed to.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they went from in this, the second half carries with it like a deep, earthy, dark brown, whereas the trailer for the sequel is charcoal. So this one was dark. It was a dark, earthy brown and like a little bit of a soot. But the next one's almost like oil and charcoal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. And it's going to be super interesting what they do when we see it in 2 days from now. Because obviously the way they did it with the guy that's telling the story, he flashed forwarded a couple times.
Yeah.
Into like the scene at the club, or there was another scene as well where he was like, "Oh, did I do it
Yeah,
again?
did I jump ahead
Did I
already?"
jump ahead?"
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Are those? I'm guessing those are scenes we're gonna be getting come the second one. I'm so hoping that, because I don't know if they filmed these at the same time or if they filmed the first one, released it, and then started filming the second one.
I don't know.
I'm hoping that's what the case is. One, so they can improve on some stuff.
Yeah.
And got feedback.
Yeah.
And then also got, like, the producers, even though they gave them a bunch of money for this, gave them just, spend whatever you want. Just make it a great film.
And I'm so thankful. I mean, at the end of our review, we talk about how excited we are for the sequel.
3 years later.
But during the lockdowns and the delays of everything, I am so glad that these big kids right here, that RRR and KGF 2 got theatrical releases.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that worked out.
Yeah. And for expectations for the second one, I'm literally hoping it's going to be 2.5 hours of the second half.
I have high hopes.
And I'm glad we got this refresher right before one, so we kind of still know the kind of theme and the style that they filmed the first one in. So we know, like, some of the flaws. They'll probably still be there in the second one.
I expect you've set us up like John Wick did.
Yeah.
Where I expect to have great stunt choreography.
Yeah.
With gruesome kills.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take it up a notch. I think this is going to be. I think we're going to see some graphic violence.
From everything we've seen in the trailers,
Yeah.
it looks like
And
it.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
With great sound effects and visual effects, with I think maybe a real with Sanjay Dutt and that character. I'm hoping we get a surprise like we did from, like, I'm not talking like the Joker, but I'm hoping we get like a Tom Hardy Bane thing where might not be Oscar level, but it sure comes close enough to be talking about, wow, I didn't expect that
Do you
thespian
think
to show
he's the guy
up.
with the ring?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because I couldn't remember if they showed his ring in the trailer, but they kept showing that guy with the I think it's like a lion ring or something.
And we
And there's like,
I don't know. I mean, and obviously I don't know anything. And if you do, don't put anything down on the bottom. But we were told about him not having a father.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we know.
Oh, you think?
I think Sanjay
Dutt
could-
is his
I
dad?
think it could set out that he's a bad
You think you bad?
guy.
Sanjay Dutt is your dad.
And I think there may be a conundrum he runs into with the fact that it's his father. That's my guess. Is that we got an Anakin Luke thing going on.
I don't think so. Because
No?
I think there's too much.
That's my guess.
And I don't know if it's just because I was brought up Christian. I think there's a lot of Christian elements in this, right?
We talked about that in the first. We talked about that in the first.
a
The whole Messiah
a ton.